Welcome to the NutriMedical Report, and our special guest this hour is Alan Watt. We're going to be joined with Alan in just a moment. We do bring you solutions for health and for life because we need to deal with the physical challenges to our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our intellectual challenges, and literally the babble or confusion that's out there. And that's why we have experts on like Alan Watt cutting through the matrix. Welcome to the program, Alan.
It's a pleasure to be on.
Alan, I've got some burning questions, and I'm figuring you're the man to answer them. And I'm sure that lots of people in this ongoing dialogue, you have a mind that cuts through the garbage. I've heard a lot of information lately on Jeff Rentz's show. We've been checking out the research this morning on Ben Fulford, who is a Canadian journalist who's been about 25 years as a Forbes magazine financial journalist who's literally releasing a ton of information. He got fired from trying to release articles about the kinds of corruption occurring at the global level because since the Second World War, of course, the British and American Illuminati have controlled or tried to completely control the business there as vassals of the New World Disorder. But there seems to be some very serious splits. And again, if anybody even looks at their Bible or looks at just any natural situation, ultimately there's going to be splits in the house, and the house of cards is about to fall. I'm of the suspicion, having looked at the information that I've seen from Ben Fulford, that there may be some degree of truth to this. Tell me what your analysis is in terms of the break between the so-called Asian Illuminati over this issue of genocide, which is what is planned. I mean, the SARS and the avian flu, which appeared directly under the flight paths of British Airways jets. The very fact that I was received personally the documents in 1997, March 16th, that the Rothschilds funded the actual resurrection of this virus with gene fragments to create a pandemic to kill billions. This is not a joke, and it's not a theory, and I would wish I didn't know this, but I do. And I'm now conveying it at great danger to you listening out there in the audience. This is not a conspiracy theory. But you've got the evidence in terms of the analysis long-standing. What do you think of Ben Fulford's thesis that there is literally a talking discussion now, a threat to these Illuminatis that are planning to stage Armageddon, literally to bathe us through a fire of plagues and war and famine? That's part of their plan to continue to move forward to total control over the populations of Earth.
Well, it is definitely order out of chaos, and so they must create incredible chaos to bring in a completely new way of living for those who still live. And what we're seeing now, I think, are some of the helpers that have been up near the top, at least on the public level, beginning to see their own demise because they will no longer be necessary in the next order to come. They won't need these people, these helpers, this upper bureaucracy, and that's where the panic starts first, really. Before it even hits the people, it's those who've been helping them in higher agencies, including the media.
Well, in fact, their greatest danger is that those people that are going to catch on. And I'm here to tell you, I'm one of those they try to recruit into these higher levels, and I'm not going along with the program. And I hope even if you're deep inside the organization, get ready to pull the plug. We'll be back in a moment with lots more with Alan Watt, cuttingthroughthematrix.com. Your questions later on in this hour, 866-582-9933. Welcome back to the NutriMedical Report. And, Alan, I would like to get back to our original topic. We're talking here about Ben Fulford, and I was listening to the dialogue between Jeff Rentz and Ben Fulford, who's a Canadian journalist who's trained at the University in Tokyo, speaks Japanese, worked for Forbes magazine. And it's a pretty remarkable story. And I've heard various opinions, and again, I try to take them from various stages of analyses. But it's my feeling that there's a lot of division occurring between the various levels right up to the top of the so-called globalist elite. And you can't just call the globalist elite just the Vatican or the Jewish elite or the Chinese elite or the Russians. There's a whole bunch of factions, but they're not exactly happy with each other. And right now, there are various plans to eliminate each other. Do you think there's any validity to Ben Fulford's story?
There's probably something to it, at least we don't even know if it's just for public show.
Right.
We don't know.
We don't know if we're being manipulated, but what I would say is there is a very high probability that the various factions are deciding to make a lunge for power to get all the chips on the table.
Well, that's a fact. There's no doubt about it that you see, long ago they were recruiting the leaders of even the Far East into their little club Hirohito of Japan was given a knighthood of the Garter before World War II began.
Yeah, knighthood of the Garter, yeah. And of course the Black Dragon shoguns in Japan were joined by the Nazi SS and the high-level German Thule Society Illuminati, and they had conjoint meetings. It's interesting, isn't it?
That's right. So they're all set up long ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be back in just a moment with Alan Watt Cutting Through the Matrix. Welcome, and we are accepting your calls at 866-582-9933. I'd like to continue with some of our dialogue about Ben Fulford, because this is a big issue. The threat that when I listened to the dialogue with Ben and Jeff Rentz dealt with the issue that the Illuminati were being put on notice that they're not going to be permitted to start Armageddon, literally, which you can see Bush and his cronies trying to start a nuclear war in the Middle East. They stopped the Israelis in the last 6 months twice from going downtown with nuclear bombs on Iran and the Bashir reactors. You see these idiots trying to spread more nuclear reactors, like the one in Japan that's just literally cracked by a large earthquake, which is spreading radiation and killed a number of people and affected 700 that are now probably radioactive. It's a big problem, and we can see the weaponization of our food. It's being done on purpose. They want to control food. They want to control technology. They want to control life extension and other technologies to make sure that we don't get treatment or healing of genetic diseases that predispose us to unwellness. But then they want to have these cybernetically and genetically enhanced super beings only for themselves. This is a very, very evil cabal that we need to stop, and it looks like there is a big split. Tell me your analysis, Alan.
Well, yeah, I mean, even in the science magazines, and these are for the lower echelons of reality they're dished out there, all of that is admitted. The future is being spelled out for the people. The very near future, in fact, where they'll create their special purpose slaves from scratch. They won't need women anymore, by the way. That's on the cards, too. And women have definitely been under attack for a long time.
Well, 97% of the abortions on Earth are against females.
Yes, and also
97% of all abortions are.
Yeah. All the other stuff that they've been taking that causes all side effects and kills them off with cancers and so on. And the hormonal levels of most people today, male and female, have been totally tampered with. Which again, Charles Galton Darwin said they would do back in the 1950s, and he was a physicist. And he was loudly applauded by all the elite of UK and America at that time. So they've been doing it. You see, they've actually been doing everything they said they wanted to do and reduce the population by every and all means possible. That's been happening. Men are becoming more sterile more early. The sperm count is way down, as the United Nations loves to tell us every year. It's down 75% from what it was in 1950s level. Their agenda is well on its way, and we got to stop it all now. And the remedy really is not science to combat it. The remedy is to get them to literally stop it. And we have to find out who all these people, and we need a new system. We can't use the same system that's corrupt.
Well, in fact, the word that Ben Fulford said is that they are targeting the top levels, and I tend to feel in my gut that he's probably correct, because I can tell you that the people that I know, some of them pretty high level, they're not exactly happy. In fact, I've talked to people who have relatives and connections that are even inside things like the CFR. They're not happy campers. Some of these middle and upper levels are realizing that they've been sold a bill of goods, that they're actually planned for demolition themselves, besides the World Trade Center.
They've been useful idiots. They've been useful idiots, and well paid, mind you, up until this point.
Right.
But they see the coming where they'll no longer be necessary themselves. They see that their masters almost don't need them anymore.
Right.
And that's when they get edgy.
Well, the masters better be nervous now, because we have your numbers, and there are things that are going to start happening here shortly that are going to take you out if you don't cooperate and stop this insane game of trying to start race-specific viruses, weaponization of our food, the World Trade Organization and the Codex Alimentarius. Aspartame is one of the worst of them all. Depleted uranium is another. Again, it's not open to discussion. I mean, we have so much documentation, we don't need to discuss this anymore. It's not open to someone's opinion. It's just a fact.
The war has been on our whole lives, and most folk didn't know it.
Yeah, and it's a cold nuclear war right now. We have a nuclear war with the spread of these nuclear reactors that the globalists want to do as the answer for the so-called carbon